Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the council meeting for Wednesday, December the 13th at 10 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order and land acknowledgement. We are gathering on lands that have been home to First Nations people from time immemorial. We acknowledge that what we now call Richmond Hill is on the treaty lands and territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the Mississaugas and Chippewa nations of the Williams Treaty. We also recognize that we are on part of the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee and the Huron-Wendat. We would like to acknowledge all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people from across North America or Turtle Island who now reside in the city of Richmond Hill. We are committed to building constructive and cooperative relationships. So at this time, I'd ask if you can, please stand for our national anthem. Okay, thank you very much. We have a public forum, which I don't think we have anybody signed up for. The next item on the agenda is council announcements. Councillor Silovitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everybody in chambers and watching us online. I just wanted to take this opportunity to once again thank everyone who came to our menorah lighting ceremony for the first night of Hanukkah last Thursday evening. We had almost 100 people there, and it was just a fantastic event. Thank you to the rabbis who were there to officiate our event, especially Rabbi Vonflash from the Jewish Youth Network, and to all my council colleagues who were there, and to our staff who work so hard to always make these kinds of events fabulous. And it was. The gorgeous blue menorah is in the piazza, and it'll have its second to last light lit tonight. So I hope everyone is having a really good, happy Hanukkah, and the light of peace is dispersing amongst everybody all over the world. So my thanks again to everybody. My thanks to Mayor West for his and his office's contribution. It's wonderful when we can celebrate all these different kinds of cultural and religious events. And I just want to take this opportunity. This is our last council meeting before we break for the winter. I want to wish everybody, residents, staff, and my council colleagues alike, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Blessed Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate it with love, light, and joy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well said, Councillor. And I just would also like to give kudos to you for helping to organize the menorah lighting in Richmond Hill as well. So thank you for all your work. Councillor Tree.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Through Mr. Chair, to all the audience here, today is Remember Days of the Nanjing Massacre Day, 1937 in the history of Chinese. there are 300,000 civilians being killed in 1 week when the Japanese invaded China. So today is Remember Day. That's I just want to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else for announcements? I would just like to add, sadly, for Richmond Hill, we lost one of our really great residents recently, Sheila Harris, who was Citizen of the Year this year at our Volunteer Achievement Awards. I've known Sheila for quite a long time, and she has been a fantastic contributing member of our community. For the longest time, she was always there when the Terry Fox run happened. And for those of us in the audience, like CAO Jocelyn, she might also remember Sheila Harris as being the principal of Walter Scott Crosby School. Sorry, but I think she was also at Walter Scott at some point. Yeah. Anyway, our condolences and our best go out to her family. She will be very dearly missed, and anybody that knows her, I'm sure, is grieving the loss as well. So. Okay, so next item is introduction of emergency or time-sensitive matters. Seeing none, we need a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Hsu, Councillor Davidson, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Okay, disclosures of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. Okay, seeing none. Adoption of previous council minutes. We have a Christmas 3-for-1 special. We can adopt all of them at the same time. And I see Councillor DiPaolo put his hand up right away when I presented it that way. It's all marketing. It really is. It's marketing. The seconder, Councillor Silovitz. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. All right. Identification of items requiring separate discussion. We have 15.1 and the sub ones in that are pulled automatically, but everything else could be passed on consent. Is there anybody that would like to pull anything from the agenda at this time? Oh, right. Actually, I remembered to say it.
No, it's not regarding that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I'd actually also suggest, even though it's listed, the 15.1.5 is just an informational memorandum. It doesn't need to be dealt separately. It can be dealt with within the context of the other budget item. So
yeah,
that one could be adopted.
Okay, good point. Okay, I should also mention we have on the agenda an in-camera item at the end, and I'm pretty sure there probably won't be a lot of discussion on that. So if there is no other discussion on that item, we don't need to go in camera. Okay, so we could adopt that on consent as well. Right? Is that right, Mr. Clerk?
Through the chair, I would just actually suggest we wait till the closed session portion, because so then I can put the motion on the screen so the public is aware of the transparency. But I would agree if council consents not to go into closed session, then I could just put that on the screen and we could deal with it in that context.
Okay, so Councillor Thompson has said that he would move it, and I presume Councillor Tree would second that, being that they're part of the BIA. Okay, all right, so no other items to pull? Okay, I need a motion to move the rest. Councillor Silovitz, Regional Local Councillor Chan, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. So that means that we have 15.1.5, 15.2, all the way through to 15.7 can be adopted. The bylaws will wait till the end, Mr. Clerk? Okay. All right, and we do have a member motion at 16.1, which we'll deal with as well. Okay. All right, so public hearings, we have none. So we have one presentation today, and that's by myself. So this is a presentation just on to kind of introduce the budget. So I just want to make a few comments before we deal with that. And this is, you know, as everybody knows here, we have gone through an extensive process here. So today is really something we need to do under the strong mayor legislation that's new for this year. So I'd just like to say I want to thank everybody on council for the work that we've done on the budget. I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again, but thank you to all of our staff. And that's every single person in this corporation that's had a hand in creating this budget. and Director Lee and your group in particular, and also Budget Chair DePaulo. Thank you very much for all the work that you've done. I've always remember as I'm going through the budget process that the budget is just as our past treasurer, David Dexter, used to say, it's a fiscal reflection of the values that we have in our community. And it really is. I mean, the budget's a bunch of numbers, but really at the end of the day, it's all about what we want to invest in the community. And it really is foundational in shaping everything that we do here. It is a commitment to the budget reflects our commitment to building our community and with the amenities and services that our residents come to value and expect from our city. As everybody knows, we have had the input of council on this, and I made a conscious decision when we decided how we would deal with this budget, that I think that it's really valuable that we continue to do the budget process like we've always done, despite the strong mayor powers, because I really think that, we're all elected to be able to represent the citizens that we have. And I think it's a very good opportunity for us to all really understand the budget and also really give our input into that process. And I think that that's happened. We've had a very rigorous discussion over several council meetings, and we've come up with a 4.7 is the final number increase that we are going to be approving. I think this is a fiscally responsible budget that maintains all of the services that we've come to expect. Everywhere in the world right now that you turn, we are really having a lot of financial pressures, and it certainly we're not exempt from that here in Richmond Hill. We've made some very difficult choices in this budget, and I think that this budget does reflect rising costs and pressures that we've all had in our municipal lives as well as our personal lives. But we've, tried to balance the needs of the community and the services that we deliver with the cost of those services. I think, one of the things that is also a pressure that we've dealt with is we have had several years in our community where we've had very, very low budget increases. And I guess, that's good. And I'm glad we did that at the time. But, I think that has also had a part to play in maybe a little bit of the increase that we're dealing with this year. Our 5-year total, I saw a graphic the other day, and our 5-year average, is one of the lower ones in the GTA. So the pressures also that we're facing in this budget, and I'm increasingly concerned about this, is the pressures that we've got from Bill 23 and 109. And it is impacting us for sure at every level of the municipality. As was reported out at the region the other day, and the regional budget, it plays a part in the overall amount of money that our residents pay. We are losing $5 million roughly a month because of the development charge changes and exemptions that have come from the province. This is not sustainable, and we are continuing to wait to see how the province is going to be reimbursing municipalities for that lost revenue, because I can tell you right now, there's absolutely no way in the world we can continue to function as a municipality in the way that we functioned in the past and to the level that our citizens expect without some sort of a makeup and being made whole for the revenue that we're losing. So I will continue to call on the provincial and federal governments to help us out and figure out a way that we can make up for that lost revenue in a sustainable way. And I know that other municipalities are also doing that. My concern increasingly is that property taxation was designed to pay for a suite of services that was far, far, far smaller than the suite of services that it's currently being used to pay for right now. I really do believe that both the province and the federal government need to be looking at a different form of fiscal sustainability model for municipalities like Richmond Hill, and we will continue to push for that through AMO, through the Big City Mayor's Caucus, and through efforts that I've made up to this point and will continue to make with our provincial and federal counterparts. So I want to assure everybody, and everybody here on council knows this because we've been talking about it. We talk a little bit about how we're making sure that every dollar that our our residents are paying is maximized and the value for that dollar is as high as it can be. And I want to assure everybody, and we know this on council, that, that exercise doesn't just happen at budget time. It happens all the time around here. We always make sure that we're looking at our processes and looking at the money that we spend to figure out if we can spend it more efficiently. And we're certainly going to be doing that. Our capital budget this year, I think, is a good one. It will continue to build the infrastructure and the parks and the underground infrastructure that is needed for growth and to accommodate us as we grow. I am really happy that we're also seeing our wave pool opened up after a bit of a hiatus with our staffing concerns in aquatics. So that's, I think, a very good news story as well. But the operating budget itself is also a budget that delivers the day-to-day services that we need, including water, waste removal, recreational programs, and all the different things that people expect. And I also think that this budget we've made a conscious decision to work to start rebuilding our tax rate stabilization account, which I think is very important. This fund helps us when times aren't so good. I recall very early in my council term, the ice storm that happened, and this fund helped us to get through that without having the taxpayer taking a hit because of that. So I think that's really important, and it's an important part of our fiscal strategy. As most of you know, we are working right now at the budget at the region, and on the 21st, I guess it is, of December, that budget will likely be finalized. And, that budget also reflects over 50% of what we pay in Richmond Hill. And the same challenges that have happened with us are certainly happening at the region on some of the more important regional services that we offer and our residents come to expect. So, as I said, I think this is an ongoing process. The budget, once we pass this budget, I think we can give our financial services staff maybe a day or two off before they start the next budget. But it is an ongoing process. Actually, you can probably have Christmas off, Gigi, as well. That'll be fine. But I look forward to that process. I look forward to having all of my colleagues on council fully engaged in that process, because, every single time that we get a call or a request from a resident about something that they like or something that they would like to see improve, in a lot of ways, foundationally, that is a budget request. And it's up to all of us to make sure that we are remembering all of those things and bringing all of those needs and desires and wants from citizens to the budget process as the year goes on. So I think I want to thank everybody for their work on this, and I would be happy to now present the budget for council's approval. We've got 1511, 1512, 1513, and 1514 that we need to move. I guess we move them separately, right? Okay. So Regional Local Councillor DePaulo, can you get us started off with the draft capital budget?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll do that. I'll speak to them briefly one at a time. But first, I'd like to just thank you again for the consultative approach that you've taken with this budget, with the option that you've been given by the Premier. I think it's prudent. You've done the right thing for our residents in consulting the remainder of council, and that all 9 of us have worked together to produce this document. So in terms of the draft capital budget, happy to move the staff recommendation. This represents a large investment into our community. We are tackling a lot of major projects. We have a state of good repair report that was brought in. We know that 97% of our assets are in fair to good condition, and that we have a plan to manage the 3% that needs some immediate attention. We have $9 billion in assets that we're budgeting to maintain and keep in operation and keep functional for the benefit of our residents. And this capital budget is year one of a 10-year plan to stay on track with all of our facilities and services and hard assets. And I'm very proud to move this recommendation and to begin the process of setting in place a manageable, sustainable strategy to continue to spend capital dollars in a wise manner. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I need a seconder for that motion. Councillor Davidson, could we get that up on the screen, Mr. Clerk? I should just remind members of council that there is a provision in all of these items that we're dealing with right now to waive the 30-day period so that we can get this passed and finalized right away under the strong mayor powers. That's a legislated thing. Okay, any other comments on this? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can I just ask you a question, actually through you to you? Are municipalities working together to figure out these shortfalls, $5 million? And I mean, we can do what we can do on our budget end, but can you explain some of the things municipalities are doing? It feels rather urgent.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I mean, when we go to like an Ontario Big City Mayors caucus meeting, it seems to be like, I'm not sure what we talk about if we didn't have that to talk about. It's really a very, very, very important part of the discussions. And I can tell you right now that all of the mayors in that caucus are concerned about it, as much as we are, and it's affecting them in different ways. I mean, some are single-tier municipalities, some are multi-tier municipalities like us. And but the pressures on Guelph, the pressures on Windsor, the pressures on Thunder Bay, the pressures on Markham, Vaughan, Richmond Hill, a lot of them are similar. I mean, there's variations, but it's really the same type of thing. And I think there's no question that we're going to have to be looking at finalizing the understanding on how we're going to make up the shortfall because the revenue loss at the region. And if you're a single tier municipality, it's happening right away in many cases. So.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Okay, 15.1.2, Regional Local Councillor DePaula.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy again to move staff's recommendation to bring into effect the 2024 operating budget as recommended by the Budget Committee of the Whole. You said it very well that in all aspects of life, we are experiencing financial pressures in our households, in private companies, and certainly here in Richmond Hill as we deliver services. So we agreed as a council to maintain existing service levels. There are many different improvements and improved processes that we are initiating in 2024 or continuing to add to. There's a lot of gain in our 2024 budget, but there are no cuts, and then there's no changes in service levels. We're bringing back on services that had been stalled during the COVID process. So the inflationary pressures have put us in the position that a 4.7% tax rate increase was felt that's the most prudent way forward. Looking at a 3-year forecast, we know what pressures we are facing, and to do anything other than that would be pushing pressure forward in an unsustainable way, or drawing on reserves that isn't healthy either. So we're making ample contributions to our reserves. We are challenged, like every other municipality, to keep those reserve funds in the right amounts. But this operating budget protects those reserve funds. We're not drawing down. Again, we're not debenturing any of our assets to complete this budget. We will maintain our standing as the third lowest tax rate in the Greater Toronto Area, really regardless of what others do. And I think it's something that we can be proud of. I think the operating budget we have, the fact that we're maintaining our services here, and the overall health of our reserves per capita in Richmond Hill is something that we can boast about to others and be proud of, and that can be explained to our residents that there is a tax hike this year, but we will have less pressure on our tax rate than others in coming years. So happy to move 15.1.2, the staff recommendations, and congratulations and our thanks to the financial team and our treasurer, Ms. Lee, for all of the hard work that brought this document about and essentially is put into place today.
Okay, thank you very much. Seconder, Councillor Silvitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Regional Council and Chair DePaulo. Your words were terrific. Exactly what this budget represents. I fully support it. And I hope that our residents, everybody out there who does pay taxes, I hope and trust that this is the narrative that you pay attention to, because this is the narrative that comes from the council bench that is informed. So I will gladly support this. And I also want to congratulate our staff for everything that they have done. They work stupendously throughout the year, but specifically on budget. Treasurer Lee, you and your staff and City Manager Jocelyn are amazing. And to our clerk, Stephen Hike as well, who's done a lot of work this year as well with regards to other matters, but that pertain specifically to council. So thank you to everybody for all the work that you do. You are what drives the narrative, the factual narrative, with your professional opinions that brings us to a point like this every year, where we can pass a budget that will be in the best interests of all of our residents and the city and the corporation. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. And 15.1.3, the rate supported operating budget. Over to you, Chair DePaulo.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief with this one. We are introducing some increases here also, but we just need to remember that what we are doing is tackling an impending crisis when it comes to maintaining our core assets. And this is probably the most important thing we do, maybe the least talked about, but our water and wastewater, for example, is such a critical service that our residents don't see, but they take it for granted. But those costs are going up. So for the most part, we're transferring on cost increases that have been transferred on to us. We're making proper repairs, and we're prudently trying to prevent as much leakage as possible in our system. But we've also got an inadequate amount of reserves that's being addressed beginning this year through our rate supported operating budget. So again, I'm proud to move this, and I thank council for all the work and our staff and the team that put this together, brought it in, and did the translation to help us to understand in layman's terms what it all means and what we can expect in the future and what best way forward today. So thanks to all parties involved. Happy again and proud to move our 2024 rate supported operating budget.
Okay, thank you. Seconder for that. Okay, Councillor Davidson. Any more discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Okay, so Councillor DePaulo, in case you're feeling really tired, I'll go to one of the members of the Village BIA to move that. Councillor Tree, would you be willing to put your hand up? Okay. Okay, moved by Councillor Tree. Do you want to make any comments?
Thank you so much. So this budget we reviewed with all also our ward for two councillors as well. So also from BIA board as well. So based on the history and based on the New Year's trend, also new events, and this one fit for our BIA's directions. So I say I will move forward for this budget. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Thompson, you'll be willing to second that. Any comments?
Yes, through you, the mayor, I do want to thank our treasurer, Sina, for all the work that he put into putting together this budget. I know that for the most part, the budget itself does not impact the city. However, the levy we've been able to maintain without any changes. It's without an increase. So just wanted to throw that in there and thank everybody.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, that carries unanimously. Okay, so that brings us to the end. The last item on our agenda today is the member motion from Regional Local Councillor DePaulos. So over to you, Regional Local Councillor DePaulo.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've submitted a revised wording to the clerk, and I'm hoping maybe he can put that on the screen. Now, I'm certainly not changing anything regarding the nature and the subject of what my request is, but you know, I want to make this request of our staff in a manner in which they can get this information back to us, but not overburden their already stressed resources in doing so. So I've had an opportunity to discuss with Commissioner Planning, you know, how best to word this so that we can get the relevant information and not tie them up too much. They'll just have to spend some of their Christmas holidays preparing this report. Anyway, what I'm requesting here is a better picture of as we're right in the middle of this official plan process, that we can better understand as a council, as we advocate with higher levels of government. And you know, we have this housing target, and we know that our current or historical rate of growth doesn't get us halfway to this. We have to double our historical rate of growth to hit this target. That it's one thing to when we can't just tell the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing that this target is impossible. We have to explain why. We can't just give some vague notion that this target is unachievable. We have to have some concrete numbers that back it up, and we have engaged in an excellent process. We have a robust official plan update. We have one of the most aggressive growth projections in the province. Richmond Hill is anything but shying away from absorbing our share of growth, but the provincial arbitrarily imposed timeline doesn't line up with the growth that we expect. So what I'm asking here is that our staff just tell us now, as we've done each of the local centers, as we've done the key development areas, as we're going through the OP amendments, there's always a GFA, there's heights and densities referred to, but what I've asked is that they give us an estimate of units, potential units that could be built in these various areas. And I'm not expecting them to do a lot of work. I think this math is readily available. I'm just asking that it be assembled in a way that the council can make sense of it, understand the official plan update that we're putting in place. How many units does that provide for? And you know, then it's up to us to go from there and to advocate. When you're looking at Yonge and Highway 7 and Yonge and 16th, where there's three times 27,000 units, but that build out is not going to begin in the next 5 or 10 years. It's certainly not going to be completed in 7 years. A very small fraction of those two major key development areas are going to be built. So I hope council can support me. It's merely a direction to our staff to get some information to us about where we're at in meeting our housing targets set by the province, and then we can decide as a council where to go from there.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Silvitz, do you want to speak?
Very briefly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Regional and Local Councillor De Paula for bringing this forward. It is timely and it is definitely necessary. And I agree. I don't believe that it will create much of a backstop for our staff to come up with what is being asked for here in the last paragraph. So I do believe that this will not only be able to show council, indicate clearly to council all the pressures we are under, but it will also clearly illustrate to our residents exactly which pressures we are under. So thank you very much, Councillor.
Okay, Councillor Davidson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have a question for staff. Isn't this what we're doing? I mean, aren't we already picking how many, like thinking of this big number, 27,000, and approving proposals from developers with that in mind? I'm confused a little, honestly, that we could come up with such a number or such a plan and show where it could be. I think our whole OP process has been putting density along young and major transit areas. Honestly, I can't visualize what staff's going to do that we haven't been working towards. Through you, Mr. Mayor, staff could answer.
Okay, well, yeah.
The question is, are we not working towards 2,700, that there's no magic?
27,000.
27,000.
Yeah, so I'll pass it over to Acting Commissioner Glennis. The one thing I guess I see in this is yes, I think we are doing all of that, but this is really a formatting so that we can use it to explain some of the difficulties that we're having. It's explaining the mechanics of some of the problem. But Commissioner, if you can add to that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. Obviously, we're working towards the goals that the province has mandated upon us. And concurrently, that's how we're completing our official plan update, which will feed into that, obviously. I view this, the member's motion, as the mayor said, as basically a stop in time. Where are we? What are the numbers where we're at right now in terms of housing starts and approvals? And perhaps to express it in a different way in terms of units instead of density.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have another question. In August of this year, the Ontario Auditor General said, quote, "It's not necessary to meet housing targets of 1.5 million for the whole province by developing on the Greenbelt." Through you, Mr. Mayor, does staff agree? Like, if we are looking where we can put housing to reach these targets, does staff operate with the idea that Greenbelt does not need to be utilized for housing? Or is that something we're going to come up with this added study? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly the official plan update review that we've done so far, we're pretty clear that there are no additional lands that are required to meet the housing targets. I can only speak obviously for Richmond Hill in that regard. I do know that there's a study that's been undertaken by BUILD that looks at the GTHA in a larger capacity. But for Richmond Hill, we certainly have enough land to be able to meet the targets without opening up any Greenbelt lands.
Thank you. I can support this. Thank you.
That's been obvious for the longest period of time that we don't need the Greenbelt lands in Richmond Hill or probably many other places to meet these targets. But okay, Regional Local Councillor Chan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, the mover and the seconder. And I think certainly that we have a better schedule, so to speak, for all council members and members of public to have a better understanding under extreme pressure from, well, actually not just the province. The federal housing minister is almost making an announcement every week Now we're bringing back to 1954 in terms of how we build housing. But the point is that it's certainly something that for all of us that need to have a better sense how we're progressing. Actually, just last Friday at the York Region Human Services Planning Board, we spent 3 hours, focusing on housing, homelessness, and it's on everybody's agenda. The one question for you, Mr. Chair, and is it not the budget we just passed also has included a new position so that would help the city to track a particular planning area, to track all the progression in this particular area in meeting not just a housing pledge, but in terms of going through how we are progressing in addressing the housing issue. I thought we just passed the budget to have one additional staff in planning to help with part of this is to capture this, is it not, Mr. Chair?
I think that's a part of a number of different things, and that position is going to be a lot more than just tracking.
I
That would be
understand.
a part of it. But Acting Commissioner?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. We do have a position in the development planning section that will assist us in that regard.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor is right. And I understand this part person is doing more than that. But I'm also wondering in implementing this motion, I have no reason to doubt it may pass. And would that be somewhat like, I don't want to call it template. I presume among the planners in the Ontario, at least GTA, maybe some discussion. I'm wondering that in implementing this motion, would that be some kind of not uniform approach, but some kind of standard kind of reporting format that might help for some of us to also relate to our colleagues in either other municipalities or different levels of government. I think it would enrich the motion if that we know of this at this point in time, Mr. Chair. If we don't, I understand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It's not something that's been broached. I mean, we meet with our regional colleagues throughout the other municipalities throughout the region. This matter has been discussed at length, but a uniform approach, no. But certainly with the member motion, it's something I would bring forward to that group to discuss in the future.
Thank you. So, Regional Councillor DePaula, you may set the trend in your region. Thank you.
Okay, Simon, or sorry, Councillor Tree.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through Mr. Chair to our staff here, I have concern here is because the city already passed a lot to the OPAs and we do have a lot of plans in the future. But my concern is here, we proved a lot and the developer or the builder won't do it. So from a tracking perspective, I know we have approved around 12,000 units. So how many percentage is being in progress? And also for the future, we have big budget and we're trying to promote the more affordable houses here. But if in the next until 2031, if the builder or the new building will not open, in this case, what we can do, what city can do. We give it opportunity and no one put money or put a shovel on the ground. What do we should do?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the opportunities to incentivize development are being looked at. I mean, there are a number of initiatives that we're looking at, for example, through the HAF funding for affordable housing and other measures. We're looking at changing our operating procedures to streamline development proposals. But realistically, at the end of the day, the municipality does not construct housing. There's only so much we can do, and there's so many factors that impacts upon it. I mean, we speak with developers every day. They're feeling the pinch right now, just like everyone else is. And we'll continue to work with them to see what we can do, but it is difficult.
Okay, thank you so much. I think maybe just echo to our Deputy Mayor Godwin Chan's comment. If we have a tracking sheet and see how many approved, how many in progress, what is the status, it will be much better for projection perspective. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you through the mayor, and I do appreciate local and regional councillor DePaula for bringing this forward. And certainly I like the revised version over what we originally saw because there were certain things in there that didn't quite set well with me, and it didn't explain it the way that you've explained it this morning. I'm definitely on board with trying to make sure that we're covering all aspects to show that we've done everything we can to meet these targets. What I would like to see, and I'm not, and I'm assuming that this is time for us to put in the comments here, is that with all the changes that we've made in direction to meet these targets, whether it be through loosening restrictions that we previously had in the OP, it seems to me that the biggest problem that we have to show that we're approving applications is that quite often the applicants that come in are well in excess of what we've already done to establish our OP. And it seems to me that it makes it that much more difficult for us to be able to approve applications in a timely manner when this is what keeps coming forward, even though we've already made all kinds of measures to make sure that applications could come in that fit within the targets. So I don't know if that's the type of data that we could collect here as well, that as applications come in, how many of them exceed what is available to them now that meets the targets that the province has requested. So those are my comments, sir.
Okay. All right. So I've got anybody else? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just organizing my statement. I stand in support of Regional Councillor DePaulo's motion for the principle. But at the same time, I'm thinking equally crucial is the provision of 35% of these units, 27,000 units as affordable housing defined by Provincial Bill 134. I suggest, if possible, the planning staff demonstrate how we can meet this target and present the findings in the report to the council as well. Because 35% of the affordable housing, we have to meet the target as well. So if possible, just present it how we can meet this target. I think is equally crucial for this. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good comment. All right. If there's no other comments, I'll just make a few comments myself. So I welcome this. I do appreciate the revised edition here because I think this really focuses the ask a little bit better. I can tell you right now that, again, in my travels in advocating for Richmond Hill as the mayor and also in my role in OBCM and AMO and in different organizations, we're all talking about the same thing. We're all talking about the mechanics of why this plan is going to be problematic for municipalities. I mean, I won't forget at AMO when we were all sitting there listening to the premier announce this fund, which I immediately recognized is going to be problematic. And as Acting Commissioner Glanis basically hit the nail right directly on the head, like, we don't build houses. We can approve whatever we want to approve, and we can approve a lot, but unless the builders actually build it, we won't be able to get the credit for doing the work that we have jurisdiction over in order to meet the targets. So aligning funding, which is essentially making up for the development charges that we've potentially not going to get, and that funding being tied to something that's completely out of our jurisdiction, is just not, it just isn't realistic. And, this report, I presume when it comes, will clearly demonstrate, with some expertise, which our staff certainly has, and with some data, that, it's just not sustainable. And other municipalities have done this. I mean, I've seen reports from other municipalities in various forms, and they're not uniform. I mean, every municipality reports a little bit differently and so on and so forth. But this will be a useful tool, I think, for all of us here on council, but I in particular would use this to send to other municipalities that we are working with to lobby the provincial government to make the changes that are necessary. And if we're going to be measure us on something that we have the power and the jurisdiction to actually achieve. Measuring us on something that we don't have is like asking a rhinoceros to fly and then measuring their ability to fly. That doesn't work. So I welcome this. I think this is a good step, and it'll provide us a good toolkit that we can use. And I also think that it's data and information that we do have, but we just need to pull it together in a way that we can that can illustrate and diagnose what the problem that we're talking about is. So anyway, thank you very much, Regional Local Councillor, for doing that and for the work that you put into to this particular task. And so I'll put that over to you for a wrap up, unless there's anybody who wants to speak at second round, which I don't see. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm grateful to council to see to understand where I'm coming from with this motion. We've got our finance staff did an excellent job of putting on a page of the financial implications of Bill 23, and we know what they are. The region did the same. The region has a monthly figure that they're now tracking for the implications of those loss of development charge revenues. So this is so important. I mean, affordable housing is important. Everything we do is important, and this is a crisis that needs to be addressed, and affordability needs to be addressed. But this really is different. This is, if we have to take the provincial government at their word, and the financial impact of us not receiving this funding. If we were to, I'm hopeful that this tool will help us to advocate with the province, and that the province may have a change of heart, because we're not the only municipality in this situation. But you never know. If we do get to the end of the day and don't get reimbursed this money that we're losing, there is nothing in that budget that is a contingency plan for losing this $200 million. There's nothing in our 10-year forecast. There's nothing in our reserves. We have no provision to account for a $200 million loss from the province. So we either hit our target, 72% of our target, or the province changes something, or we're talking about triple-digit increase. We're talking about a financial impact that we would have to double the amount of tax, 100% increase in the tax that we charge our residents on a 1 year. And I don't know, we could spread it out 25% over 4 years. However, it's not a discussion that I ever want to have here. So this is extremely important. I thank our commissioner for agreeing to put it forward in this format. And yes, we do this kind of thing all the time, but because we really just set policy, we set heights, densities, we set parameters. We've never had to focus on units, and we shouldn't have to. We're not building them, but I'm hopeful that through this report we can gauge, is this target impossible? And if it is, how can we professionally and in a meaningful way explain to the province why it's impossible, and show them the growth plan that we have for Richmond Hill. And based on a few assumptions, I'm saying Highway 7 and Yonge and 16th, Yonge and 7 and Yonge and 16th don't get started in this time frame. They really don't, exception of two or three buildings, 1,000 or 2 units. That we can base the assumptions that if we fill and intensify every single other corridor and major transit station area and GO train station, it still doesn't total 27,000. Though that's the kind of inferences I want to be able to draw from this report. I think we will be able to. I think it'll give us the clarity, and I hate talking to other levels of government in vague generalities. I think it's impossible. but I don't want to just say that. I want to show why it's impossible. So thank you very much. Thanks for the support. And in no way or by any means are we looking at new urban lands in Richmond Hill. We are intensifying on the existing urban lands. We are not changing our urban boundary. That's been decided. The Greenbelt will never be touched upon by this council. Our preserved lands are preserved, period. We're talking about settlement lands and urban lands and how in which we intensify within that urban boundary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion before us then. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, so we could move the open resolution for the in-camera session that we're going to do the bylaws. Okay, well, fine, we can do that. If you want to do the bylaws, we can do the bylaws. Okay, bylaws 18.1 through 18.9. Can I get a motion for that? Okay, Councillor Silovitz, Councillor Thompson, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. And now can we do that? Okay, so we need a motion for the open session recommendations, which Councillor Thompson said he would move and Councillor Tree said he would second. Okay, any discussion? Yes. Okay. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. A bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this meeting. Councillor Tree, Councillor Davidson, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. So before we adjourn, I just do want to wish all of my colleagues, all of our staff, and anybody listening in the public a really great, happy holiday. No matter what you're celebrating, I hope that you get to celebrate that with family and friends and take a little bit of a time to unwind. And as Chair Emerson says, to enjoy the view. So I will now ask for a motion to adjourn. Regional Local Councillor Chan, Councillor Thompson, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries with a happy holiday.